Welcome to my writer's room. I'm BT Higgins. Welcome to lesson 4.3. Today we're talking about editing. No, don't open that can of worms. For me, growing up, editing was always like pulling teeth. It was miserable. Now, when I was in elementary school, I just couldn't figure out most of this stuff. I couldn't get my piece of writing out of my head and onto a page. And so my mom sat with me, I remember day after day, where there would be an assignment and I just couldn't even get those words out, and she would help me get the words out, and then she would help me to find every one of the mistakes in it, so that when we printed out or copied out the paper and turned it in, it would be a clean copy that wouldn't get filled with red ink. Lots of teachers, I guess in the past, I don't know if they still do this, but I assume so. Lots of people will fill that paper full of red ink, and I would turn my paper in after having sweated over it for 2 or 3 days, and only really gotten it there because my mom helped me and kind of made sure that I got it over the finish line. And it would come back usually with a decent grade because of my mom's help, but it was still full of red ink. Change this, fix this, all of the editing marks. And I tell you honestly, after working so hard on it, I felt deflated, like a balloon that has one of those little holes in it that slowly leaks it out, and it'll leak down to, I don't want to ever do that again. Editing has the power to do that to you. Now, it doesn't have to. I mean, maybe you love searching for the mistakes. Maybe it's like a game in your head and you love getting it clean and formatted and stuff like that. That's not me. I see the value in it, though. It's very important. There are some things that you can do to keep it from having that power over your mind. I'd rather get my clean copy without all the headache and the frustration. And there's a couple of steps I'm going to give you today that will help take the frustration out of editing. First, I know that somewhere in your classes, whether right now you've got a grammar book or in other years you've had grammar as a part of your normal language arts program, it should be in there somewhere. Like this writing class that I do doesn't cover all of the grammar, and you really should have a grammar book on the side that you're working through, separate from what I do. And so you have that. That's important. Separate from your writing, you need to be looking at grammar, learning the rules, and practicing finding those rules in those little sample sentences that are usually not super interesting sentences, but they tried their best, I suppose. You need to be doing that. You need to be learning grammar, because there's no way around the fact that if you are to communicate with words, you need to know the rules of how we communicate with words. And that's grammar, okay? So, first of all, you need to be able to find that. That way you know some of the main things about grammar. Like, you have to have all your words agreeing on their tense. Are we talking about something that happened in the past? Are we talking about something that happened in the present or in the future? I went to the store, I'm going to the store, I will go to the store. And there's even more breakdowns than that. There's rules about that. And your piece of writing, if it's in the past tense, needs to stay in the past tense. It's not I was going to the store and suddenly I am there. It's I was and I still was, It has to agree. And you have to be able to, as you write, keep it in the correct tense, past, present, or future. You got to make sure you capitalize the things that need to be capitalized. Proper nouns, beginning of sentences. Those capitals are important. You know what my problem is? Whenever I'm writing out a word, for some reason, I'll capitalize anything that I just think is important to the idea. And so I'll end up, capitalizing octopus or just any random word in the sentence. And then I have to go back later when I edit and say, that's not a name. Why am I capitalizing it? It was just important in my mind as I was typing, and so my brain just hits the shift O for octopus, and then have to find out and fix it. Well, you're going to have to be able to find comma mistakes and spelling mistakes and the subject-verb agreements and point of view, and it all has to be consistent because that's the rules of how we write, and so you have to practice that. Now, I suggest practicing that separate from your creative writing. It's its own subject, and it will help you to have practiced it on the side when you get to the editing stage. Now, remember, editing stage is not when you're first writing your words. When you're first putting the story out, you don't care about anything except getting it out and making it fun. Editing comes in after you've written, revised, and made it super, super awesome. And then when you're ready to get it published. That's when the editing comes in. And again, I've said it in the past, but editing for publication just means when you're ready to print it out and put it in your portfolio, or you're ready for someone else to read it. So you want it to be super purdy. Making it purdy, making it clean is what editing is all about. So how can we take the stress out of editing? Other than having that grammar going on the side, it's nice to have a human editor. Someone, whether it's your teacher or your parent, or maybe a friend who's just good at this kind of stuff, who'll go in and look and find those mistakes for you so that you can go back and say, oh yeah, that's right. I don't capitalize octopus there because it's not a name. It's just a noun, not a proper noun. And so that's great. Human editors are awesome, but you know what I found? Sometimes it's hard to get them to do it, because it's a lot of work to look through your writing and find it. And so I'll find that can be kind of frustrating. And an editor, like a teacher, can only edit stuff once in a while. They can't devote lots of time. In real life, a human editor gets paid, and they get paid good money. Not fantastic money, not like, doctor money, but they get paid good money because it's so difficult to find those little errors. You have to master all that grammar. And so there is an option. The option which I use first, even before my writing goes to a human editor, is I just use one of those grammar checks. Now, I'm not talking about like the spell check that's in your Word program or your typing program. That'll catch stuff. It'll underline in red if you have a mistake. And yeah, that too. That'll help you find it. But then I copy and paste my piece of writing into a grammar checking software that's a little bit meatier, a little bit stronger than just the one that's built into the typing program. And it will find all of, or I should say most of, those mistakes. It'll see the spelling error. It'll pop it up. You can simply read through that little section, say, oh, that's right, that's spelled this way, hit click, and it changes it. And it'll go to the next one. And the next one. Now, the one that I use is called Grammarly, and the only reason I use that is because they advertise a lot, and I'd heard of them. And so I just paste my stuff into Grammarly, and then fix it all up, and then I copy and paste it after all those things have been fixed, and it's really quick, especially when you got a short piece of writing. It takes forever when it's a whole novel, but for you, it should be fairly quick, and then you just copy, paste it in there, make the changes, copy, paste it back onto your document, and now you've had a professional, even though it's digital, editor, and now it's gone from maybe a 5 to a 9 in corrections. And then you got to look through and see if there's anything you missed. Because honestly, grammar editors, they're computers, and sometimes they don't get the context. They don't get exactly what you mean. And so sometimes you have to say, nope, that correction isn't the right thing. And you say, skip that one. But most of the time, they're pretty good. Now, Grammarly is the one I use, but you don't have to. I found a list of a whole bunch of editors. I don't know if any of which ones are good, but I'll just read you the whole list, and you can see which ones are good. So I got Grammarly, I got Grammar Slammer, Grammar Check, After the Deadline, Ginger Software, Grammarly, Hemingway Editor, Language Tool, Linguix, Paper Rater, Pro Writing Aid, Reverso, Scribbins, Spell Check Plus, and White Smoke. and one called Udorba. Okay, I just got it off a list from an article someone had written. I don't know about these, but I think they're probably all a similar sort of thing, and they can be your best friend. Let it take the stress out of finding those errors. Copy paste in there, let it do its work, get your writing up a level without the stress. All right, I think that's enough chatting about editing and how to take the stress out of it. It's important to edit, but it's not important to stress about editing. Just, use a little technology to help you, spend a little time, and then you're going to have a piece of writing that you can really be proud of. All right, edit on, my friends, edit on.